How's it going, guys? Football-ManagerYouthDevelopment.co.uk here. We are back with the second episode of our Swansea playthrough. In today's episode, we will be playing a game against Crystal Palace. Firstly, let's have a look at the results that we have had since our first game against West Brom, where we won 2-0. We unfortunately lost against Tottenham 3-1. That was at home, and to be honest, we didn't particularly play too well. We then had a 0-0 draw away against Stoke. We beat Barnsley 3-0 in the Capital One Cup second round. And just in the last game that we played, the score was 1-0 against Southampton. So all in all, not too bad. Obviously, I don't think we were particularly expected to beat Tottenham. So yeah, I was a little bit... I think the score line was probably a little bit flattering to Tottenham, but certainly pretty happy with the result against Stoke because that was an away game and not too, I think the result against Southampton was pretty decent as well, if I'm honest. Because our aim in this save is just to make as much money as possible, I thought it would be a good idea just to have a real quick look at the bank balance. So at the moment we're sitting at £33 million. This season we've actually made over £36 million profit, so pretty happy with how this is going. We have actually signed a few new players, which I will just show you now. So the transfer window is actually shut now, and as you can see here, we spent about £6 million on new players, and we received £36 million on selling a couple of players. We didn't actually sell any further players after the sale of Song Young as well to Paris Saint-Germain, £14 million. So the players that I managed to bring in are Alvarez, and I'm not even going to begin to pronounce this guy's name. So we'll have a real quick look at Alvarez. So Alvarez is a 22-year-old Spanish left-back, really just brought in to provide a bit of extra cover. The types of things that I was liking about this guy, so he's got a fair amount of pace, and yeah, he's got really, really good tackling, quite good crossing ability at 14 as well, got pretty decent decision making, good off the ball as well. So I'm actually quite pleased with the signing of this guy. We did actually sign him for £1.9 million, and now he's worth £3.7 million. So not too far away from doubling his value, considering the price that we bought him at. What I'm obviously hoping to do with players like this is just play him in as many games as I can. Hopefully if his value increases and then we do manage to sell him in the first season, then, potentially we could look at doubling our money, just by playing this guy in a few games. The other player that I did sign, again, I'm not actually going to even begin to try and pronounce his name. But yeah, really, really happy with this guy as well. He's a 24-year-old Ivorian international who's a right fullback. And the first thing that really struck me about this guy was his fantastic physical attributes. So he's got really, really good stamina. He's a pretty fast player as well with acceleration of 16. He's got good bravery. Really, really good work rate. He could probably do with sort of trying to up his technical attributes as much as possible. But I do think with his mental attributes and his physical attributes, I'm certainly hoping that he's got enough for the Premier League, at least just to fill in. We do have a couple of right backs who I'm pretty happy with at the moment. So yeah, this guy really is just here for backup. But I think at 24 years old, he should be pretty decent, I would imagine. In terms of how much we signed him for, so we got him for £1.6 million, and he is now worth near enough £4 million. So again, another player that we could potentially pretty much double our money with if we did manage to sell him roughly for that value. Obviously, what I need to do to try and sell these players on is just to make sure that they are playing enough games in the Premier League. Obviously, if they can do pretty well, then when I do look to sell these players, there are going to be teams that are going to be interested in buying them off of me. Okay then, guys, so I'm just going to be setting up the team now for the Crystal Palace game. So I'm just having a look at the morale of the players and obviously their form in the last sort of 5 games. I'm not particularly happy with Fernandez's morale at the moment, so I'm actually going to take him out of the team and I'm going to bring in Amat to the team. Just going to clear all my subs down. I usually try and do that before every single game just so that I can have a look around at the sort of players that I might want to bring into the team. Okay, so for Fernandez, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to be using Fernandez in this game. I'm going to try and use my new right back in today's game just to try and give him a little bit of match practice. And yeah, he's pretty good in terms of his match fitness at the moment, but I think it'd be pretty good for him to just get a few games under his belt. In terms of the rest of the team, I'm actually pretty happy with the form of the rest of the players. So Ashley Williams has definitely been our standout player at the moment, with his average rating being 7.66. Been absolutely, over the moon with the way that he has played so far this season. The rest of the players, there's a lot of sort of 7.5 sort of scattered throughout the team. I certainly do need Gomez to try and improve his form. Oh, sorry, Gomez to improve his form if he can. So yeah, he has actually managed to score 3 goals in 4 starts for us so far this season, which is obviously really, really good. But yeah, try and improve his form, sort of get involved with a few more things that the team are doing would be pretty decent. Just having a quick scan as well, just at the average age of the team at the moment as well. So obviously a few of the players that I have kind of bought into the team is just sort of lowering that average age just ever so slightly. A lot more of our kind of key players are getting quite oldish, or sort of getting to the stage where we might look to sort of move them on. So yeah, like Routledge, Gomez, Rangel, like all these kind of players are certainly getting to the age where we're going to be looking to move them on and kind of bring in some younger players. But yeah, pretty happy to go into today's game anyway. One thing I just wanted to really quickly do just before we do actually go into the game is just have a look at the Crystal Palace fixtures that they played so far. So they have actually had a pretty tough opening to the season. They unfortunately lost against Arsenal and Chelsea. They have beaten Norwich, which is actually the only 3 points they've managed to pick up in the Premier League so far. They beat Oxford in the Capital One Cup second round, and they lost their last game to Leicester. In terms of how they're actually playing at the moment, Crystal Palace, so we can see here that looks like Joe Ledley was probably the man sort of pulling the strings in the middle of the park. I can certainly see that he was making quite a lot of number of key passes. I think that's something that I'm certainly going to have to try and pick up on. If I can manage to sort of stop Joe Ledley in the middle of the park, I do think I can sort of try and cut away a lot of their sort of ball possession. Certainly looking at the number of passes, Joe Ledley managed to have 80 passes in that game, so he's certainly the man that they're kind of like looking out for, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, is just targeting Joe Ledley. Of course, if he is starting in this game, just to try and sort of cut out their ammunition basically. So yeah, let's get into the game, and obviously I'll set up all the sort of opposition instructions and things like that. Okay, so a really, really slight change of plan just to the way that we're going to approach this game. So Crystal Palace have not actually started with Joe Ledley on the pitch, which I'm actually quite surprised about. Considering he played quite well in the last game anyway, but they have actually gone for Yohan Cabaye. If I take a look at the number of passes that have been attempted by all the Crystal Palace players, Cabaye is absolutely miles ahead of everyone. In terms of his passing sort of percentage completion rate, it's not particularly that good, to be honest. It's only 72%, but he has actually made 13 key passes. So what I'm going to be looking to do is just make sure that I'm really, really sort of closing down and, just giving absolutely no time, hopefully, to Punchin and Cabaye. That's something, they're sort of like 2 key players for Crystal Palace that I really, really do need to focus on. So what I'm actually going to be doing here, I think for Yohan Cabaye, I'm going to mark him tight. I think it's a really, really good idea to close him down. Sort of tackle him hard. I'm going to do exactly the same for Jason Punchin as well. I'm going to look to always close him down, put him onto his weaker foot as well, and just, basically, like, if I have to kick him, just to kind of stop him, doing their key passes and things like that, and that's what I'm just going to have to do. So we have a throw in here in the first few minutes of the game, which Wickham picks up. Jason Punchin puts the ball through to Lee, and that goes out for the first corner of the game, which is going to be taken by Jason Punchin. And Crystal Palace go 1-0 up here, guys, unfortunately. So Scott Dan with a header in the second minute, pretty much, of the game. So yeah, corner from Jason Punchin. The ball looks like it might have had a little bit of a tip onto Dan, who was waiting at the back post, near enough unmarked. And yeah, Crystal Palace go 1-0 up here. So just coming up to the end of the first half now, and there's another highlight here. So Crystal Palace are passing the ball around pretty nicely just in the middle, and Balassi is going to use his pace here, and that goes out for another Crystal Palace corner. So we need to obviously be really, really careful to make sure that we don't give away a second goal here. And luckily for us, Fabianski picks up the loose ball. So Wickham on his own, let's see what he can do here. A really, really poor shot from Wickham. There's actually been no key highlights for us at the moment. We have had 10 shots and 3 of them have actually been on target. But yeah, we've not particularly done too well at the moment. I've got to be very careful not to, reduce the morale of the players. It's really easy and tempting when you're playing Football Manager just to, knock the players' confidence and tell them they should be performing better. But what I like to do, is just try and basically motivate the players as best as possible, basically. So into the second half here, and unfortunately Crystal Palace have gone 2-0 up. So pretty much directly from the kickoff, unfortunately. So Wickham was just in absolutely acres of space. He hit the post. It looked like our goalkeeper probably should have picked that up, but unfortunately he didn't even make any attempt for it. And yeah, Wickham has put Crystal Palace 2-0 up here. And straight away we have a chance here. Looks like Crystal Palace might actually catch us on the counter-attack. So Lee through to Kabay. And yeah, we're getting absolutely ripped to shreds here by Crystal Palace. So yeah, we dropped down to 16th place in the league table. Really quick kind of counter-attacking football from Crystal Palace. And even all my instructions sort of telling the players to sort of close their key players down, it doesn't look like too much attention has been paid to that, unfortunately. So yeah, we've got a sort of massive task on our hands here. I doubt we're even going to be able to pull anything back. And Balassi with another shot for Crystal Palace there. So we're coming forward here with the ball with John Joe Shelvey, and Gomez has managed to pull a goal back for us. So pretty decent goal, to be honest. Shelvey took the ball out wide, manages to get a low cross in, and Gomez managed to pull one back for us. It's more than likely going to be too little too late, but obviously we can, all we can really do is just try to get as many shots on target and just hopefully, get a few more chances. Okay, so the game is just finished and it finished 3-1 in the end. So as part of obviously developing this team and the tactic that I'm trying to, obviously we do need to start putting some points on the board, I think, with Swansea. So one thing that's really worrying for me is that Crystal Palace managed to create 5 clear-cut chances and we didn't actually have any clear-cut chances. So I am just going to do a little bit of experimenting or, sort of analysis just to see the clear-cut chances that Crystal Palace managed to carve out and why they actually managed to carve out them chances. So what I've done here, I've decided to go into the analysis team and just have a look at the clear-cut chances that Crystal Palace managed to create during that game. So we'll just have a real look at some of the chances that they managed to create here. What I'm going to do is just lower the highlights. I think it's going to be a really good idea just to try and, kind of break down each of the highlights here and just try and see if there's much of a, sort of pattern into what exactly happened. So, okay, so Balassi had the ball here and... Okay, so potentially I think where our defensive line is a little bit higher, it looks like, Crystal Palace did pretty much have the run of the defence. That's the pattern that I'm trying to get here. So another ball over the top here, and Wickham is just completely left isolated on his own. That was the chance from the, for one of their goals as well. So let's have a look at this one here. So Lee with the ball over to Kabay, and again another ball over the top for Balassi, and yeah, this was a chance that went into the side netting. So yeah, I think at the moment, so it looks like we are getting caught on the counter attack by the looks of things, or like a real kind of simple ball over the top is our undoing at the moment. As a result of having a look at the analysis, so obviously what I had been doing is just having our defensive line slightly higher. I'm going to put that back to normal now just to try and compensate for the long ball over the top. It was quite clear in the last game that that is not going to work for us at all. So yeah, I'm just going to try to put the defensive line as normal now, and fingers crossed that should help us with reducing the amount of long balls over the top that we got caught with in the last game. I'm going to call this the end of the episode here, guys. Fingers crossed in the next episode we'll be able to get a win under our belt. I'm going to play sort of a number of games now. Just try and get some points on the board, hopefully. But yeah, if you have liked this video, please do press the like button. It really does help the channel. Obviously, leave your comments and, of course, subscribe to the channel. And we'll be back very soon for the next episode. Thanks for watching.